Forget range anxiety, app fatigue. That's the real frustration. Hey, welcome to another episode of EV Charging Minute. I'm Tony Booth, your host, founder of Stay in Charge, leading hospitality focused EV charging solutions provider. And today we want to talk about that whole thing, the user experience, right? Uh, you know, the user experience for EV drivers, it really does still have quite a ways to go. Uh, and I'm sure, not to pick on the whole industry as a whole there. I'm sure there was challenges back when people first started driving around and, going to different gas stations. Okay. Except for, years ago it was like cash exchanges, right? But now that you don't have a tenant. So EV charging it gets a little frustrating, right? There's so many different networks out there. Okay, there's hundreds and hundreds of different companies that spin up, say, "Oh, we're going to make a network," and they, you know, get somebody's white labeled software and they, put this in and put that in, or there's companies out there that, the networks aren't connected. You're just connected to this, and so there's so many different ways to connect and use these chargers that are out there. It's just it's hard to tell when you pull up to a charger what you're going to have to go through, right? And then there's different pricing strategies, so you don't know, like, this one charges by hour, this one charges by kilowatt, this one charges a flat fee plus this plus that. So it's just crazy at times, because you look at a charger and you're like, wait a minute, okay, I got to pay $2, or I got to have a membership to get this discount. I've got all that. And it's just really, it can get really confusing, right? And not always very transparent of what the charges are. We're not standardized enough yet. And that does not mean we need the government to step in and standardize us. Let the people do it. But that's where we get, we make it worse on ourselves, because you have all these different people that, yeah, while we're trying to do something and we're trying to make a network and an industry work, we got to come together and be more driven towards a standardization or a commonplace thing that happens, right? So it's no wonder people get upset. They pull up to somewhere, they got an app to download. Every single app that you download, you've got to create an account. You got to put a credit card in. You've got to do that. That's just common, right? That's what you have to do. But there's nothing you can do to change that. You got to have security. You got to make sure it's the right people and all that. So I get that. But I might be traveling somewhere and I might stop, in the morning and need an app to use this charger. Stop at noon, need an app to use this charger, need another app, right? Like, it could easily take me 5 apps throughout the day. And there's some integration going on that helps with that, no doubt. Like, the more of us that all realize that we got to get together and share each other's networks and let each other, ping and pong off of each other, that helps. But it's still app fatigue, right? So when you look at this and say, okay, how do you simplify this? Why not look at a gas station model, right? Like, why not look at a gas station model today? Nobody goes into the gas station unless there's a problem, into the store. You just pull up to the pump, you swipe your card, plug your card in or whatever, and you pump your gas. So why not simplify it that way? That would make it pretty simple. The problem that we run into there as a network operator, we recognize, okay, the cost. It's an added layer of cost to have the credit card machines there and everything else, right? It's already hard enough with the utilization rates to make these things cost effective without having to charge enormous rates. So if you put that credit card machine out there, right now, there's a whole integration of that. There's a layer of software that runs that. There's a company out there that's doing all that, right? So all this stuff kind of adds in to add cost. And then that just means you have to pass that on to the driver, which then means your 30-cent or 35-cent per kilowatt hour charge just went to 45, 55, or 60 cents. So it doesn't really work as a universal solution today. as more and more EVs hit the road and that particular charger, if a charger is being used 60, 50, 70% of the time, then there's no reason why it can't afford to have a credit card machine on it. So how that will work, I believe, in the future is you're going to see these fast chargers that are kind of replacing the highway gas station and those depots. Of course, they're all going to have credit cards. And I think that they all need to have credit cards. If you're coming in and you're getting that 20-minute, 15-minute charge, those should be simple. Tap my credit card and go. Not a whole bunch of other stuff. That whole thing on there where networks are trying to make you download an app, join to get some discounts, right? All this loyalty stuff, like quit making it hard. Okay. Let's make that simple. But the future out there is there's going to be chargers all over the place that aren't going to be able to afford, and we don't want them to put credit cards on it because we want to keep the cost low. So the good thing is there are a couple things on the horizon, primarily being number one, the ISO 15118 or 15118, however different people to say it different ways. You'll hear it different ways. I call it 15118. Some others will call it 15118. But anyway, it's a standard that's coming down the pike that people are working on. That standard is also, it's kind of known as plug to charge, also vehicle to grid, because that's some of the standards that allow us to let the charge, the battery feed back into the grid. So plug to charge is great. All right. It's good solution that's coming down the pike. There's also a solution that's out there called tap to charge, right? So this is simple, just tap and it recognizes you and starts the charger. So both of these promise seamless experience for EV drivers, right? You can see how this can become a seamless experience, which is what we need in the industry. If you take the Tesla experience, okay, I drive a Tesla, I understand it. It is very nice. I go to a Tesla charging station, I pull in, I plug the car in, well, back in, right? But, I just plug the car in and the car, it associates that car with my account and it has my credit card there and it charges me. That's a great seamless experience, but it's in a single confined network, right? So it makes it kind of easy for Tesla to do that for a Tesla vehicle. But for me to do that at other networks, right, there requires other things. So, EVgo has been doing a lot of work on this. So a lot of their stations, I believe, depending on the cars, are plugged to charge. So that's out there. It's building momentum and it's growing. So it's a relatively good solution. So the way it works, it works with your vehicle, right? It identifies plug to charge, identifies the vehicle as the secure, credential of how to allow this person to use this charger and collect fees. So the hardware in the charger itself will communicate to the vehicle, get the secure identification, and then send that up to the cloud and then over to whatever network is settling the charges, right? Like, so you have somebody out there, some network that's going to ride on top, that's going to be kind of connecting the things together. So that is a good solution, but it requires compatibility between the chargers and then also each vehicle. So each different make model of vehicle has different things. They're going to have to get all that integrated, and then the chargers need to be upgraded. Okay. So there is some challenges to that rolling out in a large scale, but we're working on it, right? That's one of the things. Most of the chargers these days, we try to deploy charging solutions that are ready for this standard, even though it's not really here yet. So most of our, like in our network, our chargers are ready. Our software is ready. As it becomes more ubiquitous with the cars, we'll be able to turn that on as well. So, but in all, honesty, we have chargers that were deployed a couple of years ago where those standards aren't there yet. So those chargers are going to require some type of upgrade for this to work. So think about that confusion, right? Whoa, this charger I can tap, this charger I can plug, come on. So it's just going to be something that we got to work through. It'll get there though. Some of the challenges I see with the plug to charge thing, you're now relying on the security of kind of many layers, right? Like if you really think about it, because I got my vehicle can plug into pretty much anywhere. That translation, that communication between the vehicle and the car is literally through the little wire inside my plug, right? That's typically where this is occurring. So the question you have there, is there a way that somebody bypasses that, somebody shorts that or hacks that in some way, and all of a sudden I'm at home in Georgia and I'm getting bills for charging in Nebraska because somebody's figured out how to make that car mimic my car, right? So there's obviously a lot of challenges there that are going to get sorted through, and I know with anything like that, new technology, people are going to figure out how to hack it, and we figure out how to stop it. But it is some of the sides we see out there as part of those challenges of moving that forward. So there is some good relief coming, and we've seen that. We've been working towards it, and we think it's a good plan. But we have also been working on another option, which we call tap to charge. So if you're the younger generation, you know exactly what we're talking about, because the younger generations, they've already jumped into this technology, right? And all of us carry this technology with us. Most of us anyway. Anybody that's got a smartphone, right? You're carrying the technology that we're going to use. And that's your secure wallet, your Apple Wallet, your Google Wallet, your secure credentials that are on your phone. And there's a whole industry around that, and there's a whole movement on how that is starting to evolve, right? In the past, just a little example of this security movement. So in the past, when you needed to, let's say, rent a car, the rental car company needed to know, did you have a valid ID, valid driver's license, and they needed to know your age, right? Do they really need to know your date of birth? Do they really need to know your home address at that point? Not necessarily. So they only needed certain criteria. So this new credentialing systems and all this security stuff is working on how we only share what we need to share, instead of having to whip out an ID or a social security card, things like that, to where we know everything. Why do we need all that? So what we're doing is we're going to piggyback on that technology to use that to make tap to pay. So the tap to pay, you'll see it at stores everywhere these days. Okay. A lot of your POS systems, and I'm not talking about the tap to pay where your credit card does the NFC. I'm talking about where it's inside your phone, inside your mobile wallet, because that's where the true secure credentials are. Okay. And those are the things that can be done without requiring the credit card system. Okay. As I mentioned in the beginning, that credit card system, if I was to put a POS, point of sale reader on a charger at a location, yes, you'd be able to tap your card on it to charge, and maybe even tap your phone, right? If that reader's set up to do that. But that reader in itself and that credit card system costs additional money. The system we're developing is integrated inside the charger to read those credentials and then communicate to downstream solutions that then allow the charger to work. So whether that's charging your bank account because your wallet tapped this node, and you know that in your wallet you have it set up that to use this particular credit card for Apple Pay, right? You're going to pull out your phone, tap the phone on the charger, boom, comes right out of Apple Pay. So that's another way to solve this crazy app fatigue frustration, right? Is the tap to charge option. We feel it's really the more flexible option, which is why we're diving in hard on that. We're still going to do our 15118, but we really think, and if you think about it and pay attention to the space, you're going to see that tap to charge is going to become a very viable and sought after solution, because number one, it's more secure. Okay. Apple and Google, they lock that stuff down. Like, it takes a lot for a company, right? Like, you can't just hire a developer and build something and flop it into Apple Wallet, right? It just doesn't work that way. They don't allow it, right? There's a lot of security layers. There's a lot of checks and balances. Don't know what that's going to be like on a 15118, like who's monitoring and taking the charge of all that. So this tap to charge is a way more secure vessel to use. It's got more flexibility to integrate with other things as well. So just because you tap to charge and it goes through your Apple Wallet, okay, there can be other things inside, besides just your credit card inside that Apple Wallet. All of a sudden it's like, oh, you're staying at a hotel. Boom. It knows you're staying there. It knows you have a loyalty card or whatever. And you tap and it says, boom, do you want this on your room charge? Because it can integrate through the back end. Very simple, right? If you're only charging through your car, like, the car's not going to know that you're staying at this hotel, but your Apple Wallet, your credentials, your credentials that have been issued inside an Apple Wallet can, because that hotel issues you the credential inside your wallet to use the charger. That applies in so many ways, from employee badges, loyalty programs, common area access in apartment complexes, condo complexes, any place that you have access control and security measurements. That same credentialing can now be used to manage charging. So not only does it make it easier because you tap to charge, but it also makes it easier because it's the same credential you're already using. You checked into your room, you're using your mobile key to get in your room, to get in the front door, to get into the fitness center. All day long at the hotel, you're using your mobile key, and you're going to use your mobile key to run the charger. You go to work, use a badge to get in. Well, why not use that same badge to start the charger out in the parking lot? So we're focusing on this as well and bringing tap to charge to the market. And we think that it's a more flexible solution that's going to allow us to do more with it. It's also going to be relatively easy to retrofit existing solutions, because our core is very easy to deploy. So where's the future really going to end up? It's definitely a combination of all these options. And I'm sure there's other companies out there developing even more things that we'll see come out in the future. Okay. Where this all starts to, gel into a more cohesive and seamless experience for the EV driver. And it's going to be a combination of that point of sale credit card solution that you typically are used to at a gas station. It's going to be some plug to charge solutions that you'll have options to use. It'll be some tap to charge solutions. And unfortunately, you're still going to run across the old station that needs you to download an app and open the app to use it. Okay. But hopefully in the not too distant future, all those apps can get integrated, and maybe these tap to charge credentials can actually link you right back to those, right? That's what we're hoping for. Tap to charge could be linked back to an account I have in a certain network even. So makes it very easy. We're going to see a whole bunch of the different options coming out. We're going to see it go different ways. Hopefully we can avoid too much regulation getting on top of this, because as soon as like regulation starts to hit in and people start saying, oh, you have to do this or you have to do that, that's when it really kind of steers things that maybe aren't in the best interest of the user, don't provide the best experience. So hopefully we can avoid all that and really see, it's exciting to me because technology is moving so fast these days that we could sit here and talk about this today. Next year, I could be talking about something completely different that's even easier and better than tap to charge. So keep in tune with this stuff and see what happens if you're following that. One thing I will note to any of you out there, because I always try to make sure you leave with a little bit of nugget on what's important when you're building EV charging solutions, is if you're talking to companies about EV charging and stuff like that, start asking them about the future, how they're looking at those things, so that you make sure you're working with the right people that understand where the industry's headed. You don't want to get stuck, right? Like you don't want to be calling me in a year from now and saying, hey, Tony, I've got a problem. I've got these 4 chargers I installed a year ago and everybody's complaining because I can't, they all got to do this, that, and everybody else switched to this. So make sure you're paying attention to that and then just enjoy it. If you got any questions, as always, reach out to our team. We're here to help. And everybody have an amazing day. And thank you again for joining in. Hey, don't forget, subscribe, share this episodes out. We're going to keep doing more. I'm going to keep building these out. We can get a good crowd going. Reach out too. Let me know if there's topics you want to hear. Like, we're open to talk about anything. I'd be glad to help you understand more about commercial EV charging. Have a great weekend and see you next week.